Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Legacy here. Today, we're exploring a pretty wild fanfic scenario. What if Naruto had Trafalgar Law's devil fruit? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you're always in the loop when a new one drops. Let's set a small goal, 52 likes on this video. I know we can hit it. Alright, let's get into it. Prologue, the devil's fruit. The night air over Konoha was thick and heavy, settling over the hidden leaf village like a forgotten dream. Street lanterns flickered, and moonlight pooled silver and cold on the stone faces of the Hokage monument. In their shadow, the world felt quieter, as if the village itself was holding its breath. Naruto Uzumaki ran. He wasn't sure what he'd done this time, stolen bread, maybe, or yelled at the wrong merchant, but the angry voices behind him echoed off the stone, mixing with laughter and scorn. The world was always a little bit meaner after sunset. Naruto darted through back alleys, his small feet sending pebbles scattering, his stomach twisted with hunger and nerves. He ducked behind a worn, mossy fence at the edge of the monument, pressing his back to the cool stone. For a moment, he just listened to the far-off shouts, the chirp of summer insects, the silence that followed when people finally stopped looking for him. "Stupid," he muttered, wiping his nose on his sleeve. Why do they always? Something caught his eye. Nestled in the grass, half hidden by a tangle of weeds, was an object he'd never seen before. It was the size of a melon, spiraled in blue, marked with strange, swirling patterns. Naruto's mouth dropped open. He'd seen weird things in the Hokage monument, old kunai, chalk drawings, sometimes even a forgotten lunchbox, but never anything like this. Cautious, but driven by hunger, Naruto crept closer. The fruit seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight, a soft pulse matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. It smelled sharp and sweet, like the air after lightning. His stomach rumbled, and, with a look over his shoulder to make sure no one was watching, Naruto grabbed the fruit and bit down. The taste hit him all at once, bitter and electric, like biting into a live wire. Naruto choked, coughing as he forced the fruit down. The world spun around him, vertigo making him collapse to his knees. His vision blurred, shifting with impossible colors, and for a split second he saw something. A man in a long black coat, tattoos on his fingers, a surgeon's calm eyes. And then it was gone. Pain flared through his body, and something deep inside him seemed to snap. The warmth of chakra he'd always felt, tiny, flickering, but real, winked out like a dying ember. The world settled, but nothing felt right. Naruto stared at his hands, waiting for something. He felt empty, hollowed out, and somehow changed. A shiver ran through him, and the night felt colder than before. He stood, a strange taste lingering on his tongue. He didn't know it, but the wheels of fate had shifted beneath him, spinning a new thread, weaving a power from another world into the heart of Konoha. Behind him, the stone faces of the Hokage watched in silence, and the stars overhead burned just a little bit brighter. End of Prologue. Chapter 1. The Boy Without Chakra. Morning in Konoha always brought a new wave of noise. Vendors shouted, kids ran past on their way to the academy, and the air was thick with the promise of sun and sweat. Naruto Uzumaki awoke in his cramped room above the orphanage, tangled in blankets, his stomach tight with hunger and something else, something uneasy. He sat up, rubbing his head. The memory of the strange blue fruit clung to him like fog. Had it really happened? He flexed his fingers, expecting to feel something. A jolt, a spark, anything that would mark the night as special. But there was nothing except a faint, gnawing emptiness. Naruto glanced at the small shelf where he kept his precious few things. A cracked frog coin bank, a wrinkled scarf, a battered kunai he'd found by the river. The old, familiar warmth in his belly, what little chakra he could ever muster, was gone. He frowned, reaching deep inside, trying to find it. Nothing. He shook his head, brushing off the worry. Maybe he was just hungry. He could feel his stomach rumbling. After all, downstairs, the orphanage matron eyed him with the usual suspicion, sliding a bowl of cold rice across the table. She didn't speak. Naruto didn't either. He ate quickly, ignoring the stares from the other kids, the way their voices dipped when he passed. Outside, the streets felt the same, busy, crowded, but with an undercurrent of caution whenever Naruto appeared. Some villagers watched him from the corner of their eyes. Others turned their backs. He tried not to care. He made his way to the academy, feet dragging. Today was supposed to be a big day. Iruka-sensei had promised a lesson in transformation jutsu, something Naruto had always failed at but never stopped dreaming about. Maybe today, with whatever weird thing had happened last night, things would be different. The classroom buzzed with energy as he slipped in. Sasuke sat by the window, as cool and distant as ever. Sakura was talking with Ino, giggling about something Naruto didn't catch. He squeezed into his usual seat, trying not to draw attention. Irika entered, smiling in his usual tired way. "Good morning, class. Today, we're going to practice the transformation jutsu." Naruto straightened, hope flickering inside him. Maybe today, he'd surprise them all. The students lined up, each stepping forward to show their progress. Sasuke went first, turning effortlessly into a perfect copy of Irika. Sakura followed, and though her version had messy hair, Irika praised her effort. When it was Naruto's turn, he clenched his fists, summoning every ounce of willpower. He focused, reaching for that tiny core of chakra. He found only a void. He tried anyway. Nothing happened. No puff of smoke, not even a hint of transformation. Just silence and the creeping heat of embarrassment on his cheeks. A few kids snickered. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Sakura looked away. Irika's expression softened as he knelt down beside Naruto. "It's all right, Naruto. Sometimes it takes a little longer for things to click." Naruto wanted to believe him, but the emptiness inside felt too real, too heavy. He stared at his hands, willing them to do something. Instead, a pencil on the next desk over-twitched, just slightly, before rolling off and landing at his feet. Naruto blinked, confused. Had he done that? Before he could think more, the lesson moved on. The rest of the day blurred by. Every time Naruto tried to focus, to do even the simplest jutsu, nothing happened. No chakra, no energy, just that hollow feeling. But as he left the academy that afternoon, he noticed other strange things. A teacher's chalk snapped in half without warning. A stray cat, mid-pounce, suddenly appeared on the opposite side of the playground. A ball thrown too hard seemed to veer away from a crying child at the last second, landing gently beside Naruto instead. None of it made sense. It felt like the world itself was shifting, just a little, whenever he was near. By the time dusk fell, Naruto sat alone atop the swings, legs dangling. The village glowed gold in the setting sun, and for once, he let himself cry quiet tears for a boy who no longer belonged anywhere, not even among outcasts. He stared at his hands, remembering the pulse of power from the night before. If he'd lost his chakra, then what was this? What had that strange fruit truly done to him? High above, the faces of the Hokage watched in silence, and Naruto, for the first time, felt like a ghost among the living. Powerful, maybe, but utterly, desperately alone. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2, The Glowing Room. It started with another chase. Naruto was heading home after class, hands jammed into his pockets, head low. The day had been the same as always. Snickers, side-eyes, whispers that slipped through open windows and cracked doors. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't mold chakra. Couldn't even make a single clone. He was the class loser, and even his teachers seemed to be running out of patience. A stone clattered at his feet. He looked up just in time to see two older boys, kids he recognized from the academy, sons of well-known villagers, grinning at him from the mouth of an alley. "Hey, demon," one jeered, tossing another stone in his palm. "Heard you couldn't even do the easiest jutsu. You really are useless, huh?" Naruto gritted his teeth and kept walking, but another stone flew, striking him squarely in the back. The anger and shame bubbled inside him, hot and dizzying. He broke into a run, the boys laughing as they chased after him. Naruto darted between buildings, heart pounding, sweat beading on his brow. He rounded a corner, only to find himself at a dead end, a narrow courtyard boxed in by high walls and abandoned crates. The footsteps behind him closed in, heavy and certain. He pressed his back to the wall, eyes darting for escape. The boys appeared, blocking the only exit. "Nowhere to run, loser," the taller one sneered. Naruto felt the panic rise, a cold, choking pressure. He thought of the fruit, the emptiness inside. He squeezed his fists, wishing for anything that would save him. And then, something strange happened. A cool, electric sensation surged through his arms, pooling in his palms. The world seemed to pause, air thick with possibility. Instinct took over. Naruto threw his hands forward and shouted the first word that came to mind, the word that had echoed in that strange, feverish vision. Room. A translucent blue dome erupted from his hands, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. The air shimmered, objects caught within the space, rocks, boxes, even the two bullies, seemed suspended in a silent, unreal calm. The boy stopped, eyes wide, suddenly unable to move. The world inside the dome felt distant, sounds muffled, colors warped. Naruto stared at his hands, terror and wonder mixing in his chest. He waved one hand experimentally, and a crate behind the boys suddenly lifted, floating gently into the air. He snapped his fingers, and the two boys, still frozen, swapped places with a pile of firewood in the corner, tumbling to the ground in confusion. What the? The dome faded with a whisper, reality snapping back to normal. The boys scrambled to their feet, staring at Naruto as if he'd grown a second head. They bolted from the courtyard, screaming, "He's a demon. He's a monster." Naruto fell to his knees, breath coming in shallow gasps. His body felt weak, but his mind spun with excitement and fear. He looked down at his palms, half expecting them to glow. He'd done something impossible. Not chakra, not a jutsu. Something else, something from another world. From the shadows, a soft voice called out, "Naruto?" Iruka stood at the edge of the courtyard, eyes wide with concern. He hurried over, crouching beside Naruto, checking him for injuries. "Are you all right?" I heard shouting. Naruto opened his mouth, trying to explain, but the words tangled up in confusion. I don't know, sensei. I wanted them to stop." Iruka gave him a searching look, but said nothing for a moment. He put a gentle hand on Naruto's shoulder. "It's okay. Let's get you home." As they walked through the twilight streets, Naruto felt Iruka's presence beside him, a rare kindness in a world that had only ever offered suspicion. For the first time, Naruto wondered if maybe, just maybe, someone might still care about the boy who had lost his chakra and gained something else entirely. That night, as Naruto stared at his ceiling, he replayed the moment over and over in his mind. The dome, the way the world changed inside it, the sense of control, of power. He whispered the word again, quietly, into the darkness, room. The word hung in the air, shimmering with promise and danger, as a new chapter of Naruto's life began. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3, Bonds of Isolation. By morning, the story had already spread. Whispers followed Naruto through the streets, words like ghost, monster, demon clinging to him like a second shadow. Everywhere he went, villagers shot him wary, frightened glances. Some clutched their children closer, others simply stepped aside, as if afraid he might curse them just by passing. Naruto tried to ignore it, but the memory of yesterday's room pressed on his mind. He didn't understand what he'd done, only that it had been real, and that it set him apart even further. He didn't have chakra. He didn't have friends. And now, he had something else he couldn't explain. At the academy, the tension was worse. When he walked in, a hush fell over the classroom. Even the usual bullies avoided his gaze, remembering how the world had twisted and changed around him. Sasuke eyed him with something like suspicion, while Sakura simply looked away. Naruto took his seat by the window, staring at his hands. He flexed his fingers, remembering how the air had crackled, how everything had moved the way he wanted, just for a moment. He wanted to try it again, but fear held him back. What if he hurt someone by accident? What if the villagers were right about him? "Hey." Iruka's voice broke through his thoughts, gentle and concerned. He knelt by Naruto's desk, lowering his voice so the others couldn't hear. "Are you all right? I heard there was some trouble after class." Naruto hesitated. He wanted to tell Iruka everything. The fruit, the dome, the way the world seemed to bend when he reached for it. But some stubborn pride, or maybe just fear, held his tongue. "Just some bullies, sensei. I handled it." Iruka searched his face for a moment, then nodded. "If you ever need to talk, I'm here." He ruffled Naruto's hair, offering a small smile before moving on. The lessons blurred together. Naruto's attempts at ninjutsu still failed, drawing a few snickers from the back of the room. But even those were quieter now, tinged with a wary uncertainty. At lunch, Naruto wandered to his usual spot on the school roof, away from everyone else. He watched the clouds drift by and wondered if he could really make things move, like yesterday. He stared at a fallen leaf, willing it to rise. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the leaf quivered, lifting a few inches before dropping back down. Naruto's eyes widened. A mix of excitement and fear buzzed inside him. He spent the rest of lunch quietly experimenting, making tiny objects scoot along the ground, swapping two pebbles, twisting a discarded snack wrapper into a spiral without touching it. Every time, the effort left him breathless and tired, like he'd run laps around the village. He knew, deep down, that this wasn't normal. It wasn't chakra. It wasn't what a shinobi was supposed to be. The bell rang, calling the students back. As Naruto trudged downstairs, he caught Sasuke's eyes, sharp and suspicious. For a moment, Naruto thought Sasuke might ask about the rumors, but he just turned away, pretending not to care. After class, Naruto lingered in the empty hallways, not quite ready to face the outside world. He found Iruka alone, grading papers at his desk. Hesitant, Naruto hovered in the doorway. Iruka looked up. Naruto? Did you forget something? Naruto shook his head, biting his lip. Sensei, do you think? Do you think people like me can ever be real ninja? Even if we're different? Iruka paused, setting his pen down. He met Naruto's gaze, steady and kind. I think anyone can be a ninja, Naruto. What matters isn't what you're born with, or what people say about you. It's what you choose to do, even when it's hard. Naruto nodded, feeling a little warmth flicker in his chest. He left the academy with those words echoing in his mind. That night, in his lonely room, he practiced until exhaustion finally claimed him, swapping coins and rocks, summoning the room in miniature, testing the edges of his strange new power. And for the first time since the fruit, he let himself hope, not for acceptance, but for a future he could carve with his own hands. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4, Academy Misfit. Every morning brought a fresh chance for Naruto to prove himself, or to fail in some new, embarrassing way. The academy was a world of tests, drills, and whispered judgment, and Naruto was always on the outside looking in. Today was no different. Iruka stood at the front of the classroom, marker in hand. All right, everyone. Today we're practicing the clone jutsu. Line up, and let's see your best work. Naruto felt the familiar sting of anxiety, but he still tried. He always tried. One by one, students stepped forward, performing neat, puff of smoke clones that looked just like them. When it was his turn, Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, clenching his fists, searching for the spark of chakra that wasn't there. Nothing. No smoke, no clone. Just Naruto standing alone as the silence dragged out. A few students chuckled. Sasuke looked annoyed. Pathetic, someone muttered. Naruto's cheeks burned, but before Iruka could step in, a strange feeling rushed through him, like icy water down his spine. He accidentally brushed the desk beside him, and the room seemed to shift. Suddenly, the teacher's chalk and a classmate's pencil swapped places, clattering noisily. The class went silent. Naruto blinked in confusion, heart pounding. Did he do that? Had anyone noticed? Sakura stared at him, wide-eyed. Sasuke's frown deepened, curiosity flickering beneath his usual irritation. Iruka coughed into his hand, moving things along. Let's all focus, please. Throughout the morning, more small oddities occurred whenever Naruto felt frustrated or cornered. A kunai on the throwing range veered off course and landed in a perfect bullseye as Naruto focused on not missing. During sparring, when backed against the wall, Naruto somehow swapped places with his opponent, leaving the other boy flustered. After class, Naruto lingered near the training grounds, watching the other kids show off their shuriken skills. He picked up a training shuriken and concentrated, remembering the electric feeling from before. This time, the shuriken hovered in the air, spinning slowly without him touching it. Whoa! Kiba called out, nudging Shino and Hinata. Did you guys see that? Uzumaki did something weird. Sasuke walked over, arms crossed, eyes sharp. What was that, Dobe? You can't use chakra, but you can pull parlor tricks? Naruto scowled, the old urge to argue rising in him. But the truth was, he didn't understand it either. It's none of your business, team. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Everything in this village is my business if it means getting stronger. You're hiding something. Naruto turned away, fists clenched. Why couldn't things just be normal? Why couldn't he be normal? Sakura approached from behind, voice hesitant but not unkind. Naruto, are you okay? You've been different lately. He didn't answer. He couldn't. He was as much a mystery to himself as he was to them. That night, Naruto climbed to the top of the Hokage monument. With the stars overhead, he summoned the room again, just a small one, no bigger than a dinner table. He watched as a rock floated, turned, and swapped with a stick across the ground. Each use left him more tired, but he felt a growing sense of possibility. He didn't have chakra, but he had something. And maybe, if he kept practicing, he could finally become more than the Academy's misfit. Maybe, just maybe, he could become a shinobi on his own terms. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5, Tests and Tricks. The Academy's halls buzzed with anxious energy. Today was one of the midterm evaluations, a written test in the morning and a series of practical skill demonstrations in the afternoon. For most students, it was just another hurdle on the path to becoming genin. For Naruto, it felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, with everyone waiting to see if he would fall. He sat hunched over his desk, scratching answers onto the test paper. The written part wasn't so bad. He knew more than people thought, even if his handwriting was a mess. But as the hours ticked by, Naruto felt the tension building. The real test would come after lunch, when every eye would be on him. How am I supposed to do practical jutsu when I can't even use chakra? The thought echoed in his mind as he poked at his rice ball in the lunchroom. The other kids chattered, but a little pocket of empty space always surrounded Naruto. He tried not to let it bother him. Irika found him outside, sitting under a tree, head down. "You ready, Naruto?" Naruto forced a grin. "Ready as I'll ever be, sensei." The afternoon sun was high when the students lined up for the practical evaluations. First up was the transformation jutsu, then kunai throwing, then a simple obstacle course. Sasuke and Sakura both performed well, drawing praise from the teachers. Naruto braced himself as his name was called. He stepped forward, feeling the familiar, gnawing emptiness where his chakra should have been. The teachers watched expectantly. He squeezed his fists, tried to gather chakra, and failed, just as he had all week. A hush fell. Naruto's cheeks burned. "Go ahead, Naruto," Irika said, gently, but the other instructors looked unconvinced. Naruto swallowed hard. Maybe he could do something else. He took a shaky breath, staring at the training post in front of him, and focused on the sensation he discovered with room. He didn't dare make a spectacle, just a small trick, something to get by. He whispered, "Room," so quietly no one heard, then reached out mentally, trying to swap the dull training post with the bright red marker pole on the other side of the field. For a moment, the world seemed to blur. Then, with a faint pop, the two objects switched places. It was subtle, but enough that the teachers blinked in confusion. Did that post just move?" one instructor murmured. Irika smiled faintly, hiding his surprise. "Sometimes, unique abilities show up in our students." "Good work, Naruto." A few students stared, unsure whether to laugh or applaud. Next came kunai throwing. Naruto lined up, nerves jangling. He focused hard, threw the kunai, and watched in dismay as it spun off course. Reflexively, he reached out with the power, and the kunai corrected itself mid-air, sticking into the target with a thunk. Gasps echoed across the field. Sasuke shot him a look that was equal parts suspicion and challenge. Sakura seemed more unsettled than ever. When the obstacle course began, Naruto tried to rely on his body alone. But when he nearly slipped and fell from a tall log, the world shimmered. He found himself suddenly standing safely on the ground, swapped with a stray soccer ball at the base. The instructors exchanged nervous glances. The day ended with mixed whispers. Some called it luck. Others murmured about bloodline limits or forbidden jutsu. Naruto felt both pride and dread curling inside him. After everyone had gone, Irika pulled Naruto aside. "You did well today, but I need you to be careful, Naruto. Some people are afraid of things they don't understand. That's why it's important to use your gifts wisely." Naruto nodded, the weight of the advice settling in. For the first time, he realized how much his strange new power set him apart, and how much responsibility came with it. That night, in the quiet of his small room, Naruto practiced the room again. Each time he used it, he felt a little weaker, but a little more in control. He didn't know what the future held. But as he looked at the moon over Konoha, he promised himself, whatever it took, he'd find a way to belong. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6, Hidden Potential. For most students, the days after midterms meant a little less pressure, a little more time to relax and play. But for Naruto, it was the beginning of an obsession. Every spare moment he could steal, after class, before dawn, while others played, he spent alone in the quiet corners of Konoha, rooftops, empty parks, or the silent Hokage monument. He practiced until sweat stung his eyes and his legs shook beneath him. If he couldn't be a regular ninja, he would be something else. He learned quickly that his new power wasn't infinite. Whenever he summoned a room, a strange coldness settled in his limbs. Each swap or manipulation left him breathless, as if each act demanded a toll. The bigger the room, the greater the cost. Sometimes, after pushing himself too far, he'd barely have the energy to drag himself home. But every success fueled his stubborn hope. He discovered he could swap two objects within his room's sphere, pebbles, pencils, even his own sandals with a pile of leaves. Levitate small objects, making them hover and spin, although anything heavier than a backpack made his head ache. Move quietly within the room, almost like the air itself was cushioning his steps. Yet there were limits. He couldn't swap living things unless they were willing, or at least, not resisting. Chakra-based objects or attacks seemed to slip through his control, as if they belonged to a different world. If he used the power too many times in a row, the room collapsed and left him dizzy, sometimes sick. One early morning, Naruto snuck out to the training grounds, determined to expand the room further than ever before. The empty field shimmered in the dawn light as he closed his eyes, stretching his arms wide. "Room," he whispered. The dome swelled, blue and transparent, until it covered almost the whole training field. Naruto gasped, holding it steady, sweat beading on his brow. He picked up a pair of training kunai and, with a sharp motion, swapped them from one end of the field to the other. He grinned, chest heaving with pride. Suddenly, he heard a voice behind him. "What the?" Naruto spun around, dropping the room in surprise. A Chunin instructor stood there, mouth open, half a sandwich forgotten in his hand. "Was that some kind of genjutsu?" the man asked, eyes wide. Just a new trick I'm working on," Naruto stammered, feeling panic rise. The instructor stared, then broke into a nervous laugh. "Well, whatever it was, don't let Mizuki catch you doing it. He'll make you clean the whole training field for a week." As the man walked off, shaking his head, Naruto exhaled in relief. But he couldn't ignore the thrill that raced through him. Someone had seen. Someone besides Irika. That night, as he lay awake, Naruto thought about what the Chunin said. Was it a jutsu? Was it a Kekkai Genkai? Was it something else entirely? He pressed his hands together, feeling the faintest pulse of that otherworldly energy. It wasn't chakra, but it was his. And maybe, just maybe, it could be enough. With that hope glowing quietly inside him, Naruto fell asleep, dreaming of a world where he wasn't alone, a world where his hidden potential could finally shine. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7, Graduation and Team Assignments. Graduation day loomed over the academy like a storm cloud. Excitement filled the air for most students, new headbands, hopeful glances, proud parents. But for Naruto, it felt more like a final judgment. He sat in the classroom, clutching the edge of his desk, listening as names were called one by one. Sasuke breezed through his exam. Sakura earned polite applause. The other students completed the required jutsu and received their hitae with grins and relieved laughter. When it was Naruto's turn, the murmurs grew. He stepped forward, determined not to show how nervous he felt. Irika gave him a gentle nod. The other instructor, Mizuki, watched with narrowed eyes. "Clone jutsu, Naruto," Irika said. "Show us your best." Naruto took a deep breath. He tried, he truly did, to pull chakra together, to force even the faintest wisp of smoke or a half-formed clone. But there was nothing. The silence grew heavy. A few students tittered. "I can't," Naruto whispered, shoulders slumping. Mizuki shook his head. "He can't even do the basic jutsu. He shouldn't pass." Naruto's hands balled into fists. This was it, the wall he could never climb. All that effort, and still, he didn't belong. Irika's eyes softened with understanding. He glanced at Mizuki, then back at Naruto. Sometimes, a shinobi needs to show more than just the standard jutsu. Creativity, courage, and determination matter, too. He hesitated, thinking, then announced, "Naruto, one last test. Stealth and resourcefulness. I want you to steal the Hokage's hat from the office before sunset. If you succeed, you graduate." The room erupted in whispers. Naruto blinked in disbelief. "Really?" Irika nodded. "Show us what only you can do." Naruto darted from the room, mind spinning. He'd seen the Hokage's office, a fortress of paperwork and watchful umbu. But he wouldn't give up. Not now. He snuck through alleys, ducked behind crates, and crept up the winding stairs to the Hokage Tower. The guards at the door were the first obstacle. Naruto summoned a tiny room, barely big enough to reach under the crack of the door. He swapped a pebble in his hand with a small decorative stone inside, creating a distraction. The guards left their post, confused. Inside, Naruto moved silently, using the room to swap the placement of floorboards and creaky tiles to mask his steps. He nearly got caught twice, once by an umbu's shadow, once by the Hokage's secretary, but each time, he used a clever trick, floating a paperweight, swapping a pin with a thrown shuriken, buying just enough time. Finally, in the Hokage's office, the great red and white hat sat on the desk. Naruto peeked in, summoning the last bit of energy he had. "Room," he breathed, swapping the hat with the scarf around his neck. In an instant, the scarf sat on the desk, and Naruto cradled the hat to his chest, wide-eyed with victory. He dashed back to the academy, breathless and grinning. Irika greeted him at the door, a mix of pride and astonishment on his face. "Well done, Naruto." Irika handed him a blue hitae, the Leaf Village symbol shining in the sun. "You pass." Naruto's smile nearly split his face in half. He tied the headband around his forehead, feeling a rare warmth bloom in his chest. The next day, the graduating class gathered for team assignments. Naruto sat between Sakura, who still looked puzzled by him, and Sasuke, who scowled as if daring Naruto to challenge him. Team 7, Irika read out. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Hiruno Sakura. Your sensei will be Hitaki Kakashi. The future had never looked more uncertain or more exciting. End of Chapter 7. Chapter 8, Kakashi's Dilemma. The classroom hummed with anticipation. Graduation had turned to reality, new Hitai gleamed on young foreheads, and the students of the academy whispered about which Jonin would be their sensei. But Team 7 sat in near silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Naruto was first to break it, bouncing his feet beneath his desk. I wonder what kind of teacher we'll get. Maybe someone super strict. Or maybe, Sakura rolled her eyes. Can you not jinx it, Naruto? Sasuke simply stared out the window, his silence more pointed than any words. Just as Naruto started to whine again, a hand slid open the door. A man with silver hair, gravity-defying and only one visible eye, poked his head in. Yo, Naruto blinked. You're late. Kakashi's lone eye crinkled in amusement. A black cat crossed my path. Had to take the long way. He ushered them outside and up to the academy roof, where the village spread out below. The world felt new, and Naruto's nerves tingled, not just with excitement, but with the unfamiliar energy of his Opo no Mi power. They sat, awkwardly spaced, as Kakashi studied them with the lazy interest of someone reading the end of a book before the beginning. All right, Kakashi said. Let's start with introductions. Name, likes, dislikes, dreams. One by one, Sakura, Sasuke, and then Naruto spoke. Naruto tried to keep it simple, but his hands fidgeted with energy. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen. And, well, I want to be Hokage. I want everyone to notice me. Kakashi nodded, eyes lingering on Naruto a moment longer than the others, as if he could sense the oddness in the boy's energy. Good. Now tomorrow, you'll start your true test as Genin. They met the next morning at Training Ground 7. Kakashi explained the rules for the bell test: get one of the bells by noon, or go back to the academy. Naruto eyed the bells. Easy, but the moment the test began, Kakashi vanished. Sasuke and Sakura moved strategically. Naruto, stubborn as ever, rushed in. He tried to use a classic trick, throwing a handful of kunai and charging through the cover, but Kakashi was gone before he landed a single blow. Naruto gritted his teeth, frustrated. I'm not giving up, he whispered, forming a faint dome around a patch of earth. With effort, he swapped a large stick near him with the bells, only to realize the swap didn't work. The bell shimmered, resisting his power. Chakra-based? He realized. Is that why? Kakashi's voice floated in. Nice try, Naruto. But you'll have to do better. Frustration and excitement tangled in Naruto's chest. The Opo no Mi was powerful, but it wasn't a cheat code for every problem. He retreated, remembering Irika's advice. Use your gifts wisely. Think creatively. Watching from the trees, Naruto observed Sasuke and Sakura struggle too. An idea took shape. He waited for Kakashi to corner Sasuke, then formed a small room around a branch near Sakura's feet, swapping it with a stone right in front of Kakashi. Startled, Kakashi stepped back, just as Sasuke lunged for the bells. Kakashi dodged again, but for a second, his eye narrowed with intrigue. That wasn't a substitution jutsu. The morning wore on, and Naruto's creative interference forced Kakashi to adapt, keeping him on his toes. By the end, none of the team had the bells, but Kakashi called them together. He looked at Naruto for a long moment, then at the others. You all failed to get the bells, but you showed something more important: teamwork. Especially you, Naruto. You didn't just think outside the box. You threw the box away. Naruto's eyes widened. Does that mean? Kakashi nodded. You pass. All three of you. Starting tomorrow, Team 7 begins real missions. As the sun dipped low, Naruto walked home, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. Kakashi's words echoed in his mind. Think creatively. Maybe he couldn't be a normal ninja, but maybe that was okay. He wasn't just the academy's misfit anymore. He was a ninja, a real one. At last. End of Chapter 8. Chapter 9, First Missions and the Opo Secret. Team 7's first official missions were not what Naruto had imagined. Instead of heroic battles or dangerous foes, their days were spent scrubbing graffiti, pulling weeds, and chasing stray cats. Even with his new powers, Naruto found himself bored and often frustrated. Each night, he practiced with the room, but during the day, he hid what he could do. No one wanted a weirdo on their team. During their third mission, catching Tora the notorious runaway cat, Naruto tripped and face-planted into a rose bush. Sakura sighed. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Kakashi, ever unreadable, simply recorded the result in his tiny mission log. But even with the monotony, Naruto tried to help in small ways. If a villager dropped a basket of apples, Naruto used a tiny room to nudge them back before anyone noticed. When Sakura's gardening gloves vanished, Naruto quietly swapped them from the other side of the yard. No one saw, at least, not that he knew. Yet, Sasuke's suspicious glances grew more frequent. And Kakashi, too, watched Naruto with a new level of attention, as if trying to solve a puzzle only he could see. Their routine changed one humid afternoon when their D-rank assignment brought them to a rundown district on the village outskirts. An elderly woman had slipped in her home and was trapped beneath a toppled shelf. Kakashi took charge. Sasuke, Sakura, check for injuries. Naruto, find a way to clear the debris fast. The fallen shelf was heavy, pinning the woman's leg. Naruto's heart pounded as he knelt beside her. He tried lifting, but the weight was too much for even his determination. In that tense, breathless moment, instinct kicked in. Naruto summoned the room quietly, invisible to all but him. He focused, sweat beading on his brow, and swapped the shelf with a cracked wooden stool across the room. In a blink, the heavy shelf vanished, and the woman's leg was free. Sakura gasped. Sasuke looked up sharply. Even Kakashi's single eye widened for a fraction of a second. The old woman blinked in confusion. Where did it go? Naruto fumbled for an answer. A lucky break, I guess. Kakashi crouched by Naruto as Sakura tended the woman's leg. His tone was soft, almost careful. That was quick thinking, Naruto. Not a jutsu I recognize. Naruto shrugged, avoiding his sensei's gaze. Just something I figured out. Kakashi nodded slowly, a thoughtful expression on his masked face. He didn't press further, but Naruto felt the unspoken questions hanging in the air. That evening, on their way home, Sakura finally voiced what everyone was thinking. Naruto, how did you really do that? He hesitated, searching their faces. Sasuke, skeptical but curious. Sakura, cautious but not afraid. Kakashi, inscrutable as always. Naruto shook his head. I'm not sure yet, but I promise, it's not dangerous. I just want to help. The group fell silent. No one pressed him, but for the first time, Naruto felt the distance between him and the others begin to shrink, if only by a little. As he walked home, Naruto looked up at the evening sky. He knew his secret wouldn't stay hidden forever. But today, at least, he had used his strange gift to help someone. Maybe, he thought, that's what being a ninja really meant. End of Chapter 9. Chapter 10, The Land of Waves, Into the Unknown. After weeks of odd jobs and humble chores, the moment Naruto had dreamed of finally arrived. When Team 7 was summoned to the Hokage's office for their next assignment, he felt a nervous energy coiling in his gut. Tazuna, an anxious bridge builder from the Land of Waves, pleaded for protection against mysterious threats. At first, the mission was labeled C-rank. Naruto grinned wide as they accepted. We'll protect you, old man, he declared. They set out at dawn, following the winding roads away from the familiar safety of Konoha. The journey was filled with awkward silences and half-hearted bickering. Naruto's questions, Sakura's scolding, Sasuke's brooding, and Kakashi's quiet observations. But the road quickly grew dangerous. The first real test came suddenly. Two masked figures, the demon brothers, sprang from the roadside, iron chains flashing. Kakashi was targeted instantly, and the others were left exposed. Naruto froze for a heartbeat, panic rising. He tried to summon chakra. Nothing. But the memory of his room power surged through him. He shouted, "Room," under his breath, forming an invisible sphere around himself and his teammates. Everything seemed to slow. The chain shot toward him, and Naruto instinctively swapped its position with a nearby fallen branch. The chain slammed harmlessly into the dirt. Sasuke and Sakura gawked as Naruto, breathing hard, waved his hand, and the demon brothers suddenly found themselves tangled up, their own weapons in each other's arms. Kakashi reappeared in a blur, dispatching the stunned attackers. He glanced at Naruto, an approving glint in his visible eye. Nice save, Naruto. Teamwork in action. But Naruto felt the drain of his power more deeply than before, a cold exhaustion in his arms and legs. He tried to hide it as they moved on, but Kakashi's gaze lingered. Days passed, the road growing rougher and the threats more serious. The air grew heavy with the promise of something far worse. One misty morning, as they approached a bridge, an oppressive silence fell. A monstrous sword slashed through the trees, a single, terrible sweep. Kakashi's eye widened. Get down, he barked. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, stepped into view, his presence alone chilling the air. The battle began at once, swift and brutal. Mist thickened, and Kakashi moved to protect Tazuna, leaving the Jinin exposed. Sasuke and Sakura fought to stay together, fear in their eyes. Naruto's mind raced. Normal jutsu won't work for me. But maybe. As Zabuza's water clone advanced on Sakura, Naruto summoned a room, forcing the clone to swap with a rock. For a moment, The clone flickered, confused, then splashed harmlessly to the ground. Sasuke stared at Naruto, wide-eyed. But Zabuza was no ordinary foe. He slashed toward Sasuke, the blade catching the edge of Naruto's room. Naruto pushed, swapping a piece of driftwood with the sword's tip, sending the weapon skidding off target, saving Sasuke from a fatal blow. Each use of the room left Naruto weaker, but he didn't stop. Kakashi and Zabuza clashed with deadly force, water and steel meeting in bursts of violence. As the battle reached its climax, Naruto and Sasuke worked together for the first time, not just as rivals, but as comrades. Naruto caught Sasuke's eye. "Trust me," he yelled, breathless. He formed a room around the mist, swapping the trajectory of several thrown kunai. Sasuke understood instantly, redirecting his own attacks to land in perfect coordination with Naruto's. The strategy forced Zabuza to retreat, even if only for a moment. When it was finally over, and Kakashi collapsed from chakra exhaustion, it was Naruto who pulled him clear using a last, desperate room. A flickering sphere that shimmered like a blue mirage before fading completely. Team 7 set up camp in the shadow of the bridge. Exhausted and shaken, they stared at Naruto in a new light, not just as the class clown, but as someone who could change the very shape of a battle. Sakura wrapped a bandage around Naruto's arm. "How did you do all that?" Naruto smiled, weary but proud. "I guess I'm just full of surprises." That night, as he stared at the stars above the land of waves, Naruto realized something had shifted. His power wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a part of Team 7's story, and maybe, just maybe, their greatest hope. End of Chapter 10. Chapter 11. Echoes of the Pirate Era. The aftermath of their first true battle left Team 7 both exhausted and restless. While Kakashi lay recovering in the corner of Tezuna's tiny home, Naruto couldn't keep still. He paced from window to window, watching the river mist swirl outside. Tsunami, Tezuna's daughter, insisted he sit down for a hot meal. "You'll never heal if you keep worrying," she said, pressing a bowl of steaming rice into his hands. Naruto managed to smile. "Thanks, but I'm fine." He tried not to show how drained he still felt, a deep fatigue clinging to his bones after so much use of the room. Sasuke barely touched his food, eyes flickering from Naruto to Kakashi. Sakura, for once, didn't have a sarcastic comment. The air was thick with unspoken questions. After dinner, as the others settled in for the night, Naruto slipped outside to sit on the rickety wooden dock. He dangled his feet over the water, letting the cool air calm his racing thoughts. He closed his eyes and drifted, the sounds of gentle waves and creaking wood lulling him into a half-sleep. In his dreams, a different world unfolded. A vast blue sea, sails snapping in the wind, a distant figure in a long black coat marked by tattoos on his fingers. Naruto watched as this pirate surgeon moved in the center of a glowing dome, cutting, swapping, healing with a surgeon's calm. Power like Naruto's, but wielded with absolute control. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, but the figure only smiled, and the dream faded with the sound of gulls and waves. Naruto woke with a start, the dawn painting the sky gold and pink. For a moment, the world felt unfamiliar, a strange legacy pulsing in his hands. He wondered, did someone else once have this power? Where did it come from? Back inside, Tezuna's house was busy with the sounds of breakfast. But there was a stranger at the table, a tall man with wild white hair and a red cloak, flipping through a small notebook with an amused smirk. Kakashi, now upright but still pale, nodded at the newcomer. "Naruto, meet Jiraiya. He's something of a legend around here." Naruto's eyes widened. "You're that famous author. Wait, the pervy sage?" Jiraiya laughed heartily. "I see my reputation precedes me. More importantly, I'm interested in the stories I've been hearing about you, Naruto. Some of the villagers say you can do things no shinobi can, bending space, swapping objects, even healing wounds in ways no medical nin can." Naruto fidgeted. "It's not really like that." Jiraiya's gaze sharpened, uncharacteristically serious. "Tell me, brat, have you ever heard of the pirate era?" Kakashi raised an eyebrow, while Tezuna and the others looked puzzled. Jiraiya continued. "Long before the world was ruled by chakra, there were stories of a distant sea, where men ate magical fruits and gained strange, impossible powers. The Ope no Mi, the surgeon fruit, was one of the most feared and revered." Naruto stared at his hands. "You mean I'm like one of those pirates?" "Maybe. Or maybe you're something new," Jiraiya replied, winking. "But powers like these, they're both a gift and a curse. People will fear what they don't understand." Remember that. Sasuke, silent all this time, finally spoke. Whatever it is, it's strong. But can you control it, Naruto? Naruto looked out the window, his dream echoing in his mind. I don't know, but I'm going to try. Jiraiya ruffled Naruto's hair, a rare fondness in his eyes. That's the spirit, kid. You'll need every ounce of it in the days to come. As the team prepared for the next challenge on the bridge, Naruto felt a strange sense of connection, not just to his teammates, but to a forgotten world of legends and possibilities. Whatever his power was, it had found its way to him for a reason. He was determined to master it, not just for himself, but for everyone who now depended on the unpredictable ninja of Konoha. End of Chapter 11. Chapter 12 Chunin exam begins. Returning to Konoha felt stranger than Naruto expected. The village seemed smaller after the land of waves, and every alley and rooftop felt filled with old doubts. But now, as he walked the familiar streets with Team 7, there was something new in the way people looked at him, uneasy curiosity instead of outright fear. News of their success traveled quickly. Even the other academy graduates gave Naruto and his teammates longer glances, though whispers still followed him everywhere. Did you see what he did? It wasn't chakra. What is he really? Naruto ignored them the best he could, focusing on the excitement of a new challenge, the Chunin exams. Team 7 gathered before the Hokage's office, where Irika waited with a stack of forms. Sakura looked nervous. Sasuke looked ready for anything. Naruto buzzed with restless energy. Kakashi arrived, hands in his pockets, face unreadable as ever. I've recommended all three of you for the exams, he said. You've all grown stronger, and not just in ways people expect. But be careful. The Chunin exams bring together shinobi from all over the world. Some will see your differences as an opportunity. Some as a threat. Naruto grinned. Let them try. The first test was the written exam. A grueling, impossible list of questions that had nothing to do with strength and everything to do with cunning. Naruto stared at the paper, feeling the familiar panic creep in. He glanced around. Sakura scribbled answers furiously. Sasuke's eyes were cool and calculating. The other students sweated bullets. There's no way I can answer all this. But maybe. Naruto summoned a tiny room under his desk. Quietly, he swapped his pencil with a fallen eraser across the room, then accidentally knocked his paper to the floor, getting a glimpse of another student's answers as he bent to pick it up. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. When the examiner announced the final question, risk everything or give up now, Naruto's hand shot up first. I'm not giving up. Even if I fail, I'll find a way to become Hokage. A ripple of laughter and admiration moved through the room. For once, Naruto felt pride instead of embarrassment. The real test began in the Forest of Death. The proctor, Anko, explained the rules. Survive, retrieve a scroll, and reach the tower. Dangers lurked everywhere. Hostile teams, traps, even the forest itself. Inside, Team 7 moved as a unit. Naruto struggled to suppress his room power, using it only in emergencies. Swapping positions with Sakura when a rain of kunai fell from a trapped tree, or tossing a snake away with a whispered tact. Every use left him a little more drained, but every save brought Team 7 closer together. On the third day, disaster struck. A monstrous snake, far bigger than any normal animal, burst from the undergrowth, aiming straight for Sasuke. Naruto barely had time to react, summoning a room and swapping the beast with a startled enemy genin who'd been stalking them. The boy disappeared, replaced by the giant snake, whose momentum sent it crashing through the trees. Sasuke stared at Naruto, breathless. You keep doing that, and I'll start thinking you're invincible. Naruto just laughed, hiding his exhaustion. But someone was watching from the shadows, a pale man with golden eyes and a long, flickering tongue. Orochimaru smiled, intrigued. Fascinating. Not chakra, not Kekii Genkai. Something entirely new. I must have it. As Team 7 regrouped, Naruto felt the sensation of being watched, more intense than ever before. He knew that, from now on, his secret would be hunted as much as admired. But as they neared the tower, scroll in hand, Naruto looked at his teammates and felt, for the first time, that being different didn't mean being alone. End of Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Sanin's interest. The forest was thick with fog and the stench of fear. Team 7 moved cautiously through the undergrowth, eyes sharp for enemy teams and deadly traps. But Naruto felt something deeper, a sensation like icy fingers running down his spine, a hungry gaze following his every step. They barely had time to process the danger before it was on them. A flash of movement. A monstrous, pale figure with slitted, golden eyes swept from the trees. Orochimaru, Legendary Sannin and a terror whispered about even among Jounin loomed before them, his presence warping the very air. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Sakura trembled. Naruto's heart hammered in his chest, but he stepped forward anyway, trying to put himself between Orochimaru and his friends. "You're not just here for the scroll, are you?" Naruto said, voice trembling but loud. Orochimaru's smile was cold and predatory. "How perceptive, Naruto-kun. I'm interested in something far rarer than a scroll." His gaze lingered on Naruto, fascinated. "You have a power that doesn't belong in this world, a space jutsu, not bound by chakra. Where did you get it, I wonder?" Naruto gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his brow. He'd faced down demon brothers and even Zabuza, but this was different. Orochimaru radiated hunger for power, for knowledge, for the unknown. Before anyone could react, Orochimaru struck. His movements were fluid, inhumanly fast. Sasuke and Sakura scrambled to defend, but it was Naruto's instincts that kicked in first. "Room!" Naruto shouted, expanding his sphere as wide as he dared. Inside the room, the world felt distant and dreamlike. Orochimaru's hands blurred in seals, but Naruto swapped the branch he aimed at with a fallen log, forcing Orochimaru to twist away. The Sannin's eyes glittered with interest. "Fascinating." Orochimaru hissed, extending his neck like a serpent, snapping at Sakura. Naruto's mind raced. He reached out, swapping Sakura's place with a nearby stone. She tumbled to the ground, safe, as the snake's fangs struck empty air. Sasuke launched a volley of kunai, and Naruto used tact to redirect them, sending the projectiles from impossible angles. Orochimaru deflected them with a wave of his hand, but he was smiling, delighted by the challenge. "I've seen many jutsu, but nothing like yours," Orochimaru said, voice silky. "Imagine what you could do with true training, or in my laboratory." The words chilled Naruto to the bone. He grit his teeth, focusing everything he had into the room. With one final surge, he swapped a piece of earth beneath Orochimaru's feet with a chunk of tree branch, sending the Sannin off balance just long enough for Kakashi's summon dogs to appear. Orochimaru retreated with a low laugh. "We'll meet again, Naruto-kun. You and your space fruit." He vanished into the shadows as quickly as he'd come. Naruto let the room fade, gasping for breath. Sakura threw her arms around him, sobbing with relief. Sasuke clapped a hand on his shoulder, eyes dark with concern, and something else, respect. The rest of the Forest of Death was a blur of adrenaline and whispered rumors. Proctors watched Naruto's team more closely. Anko, the examiner, cornered Kakashi after Team 7's safe arrival at the tower. "You're Jinin, especially the Uzumaki kid. He's not using chakra, is he? What is that technique?" Kakashi shrugged, but his eye was serious. "He's one of a kind." As the preliminary matches approached, the other teams stared at Naruto with a mix of fear and awe. Some muttered about bloodline limits, others about forbidden jutsu. Even among the extraordinary, Naruto was something entirely new. But for the first time, as Team 7 stood together in the tower, Naruto felt no urge to hide. He'd faced a legend, protected his friends, and survived the hunger of a true monster. Whatever his power was, devil fruit or bloodline, gift or curse, he was determined to master it. And if Orochimaru wanted his secret, he'd have to fight for it. End of Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Prelims and Revelations. Word of Team 7's encounter with Orochimaru spread through the Chunin exams like wildfire. By the time the exhausted Genin were called to the arena for the preliminary matches, Naruto could feel every set of eyes fixed on him, not with scorn, but with unease, curiosity, and sometimes envy. The Chunin exam arena was a vast, echoing stone chamber lined with spectators and proctors. Naruto felt his nerves fray, but also a growing excitement. For the first time, he wasn't just the weakest or the odd one, he was the wild card. The rules were simple, one-on-one battles. Win to advance, lose and you're out. As the matches began, Naruto watched the other fighters with new appreciation. Lee's fists and feet blurred like lightning. Gaara's sand rippled with deadly force. Even Hinata, always shy, faced her cousin with silent resolve. When Naruto's name was finally called, he stepped into the ring, facing an older boy from the Rain Village. The crowd buzzed, waiting for the demon fox or weird ninja to slip up. Naruto steadied himself, heart pounding. His opponent launched a barrage of kunai, moving with expert precision. Naruto dodged the first, but a second came straight for his face. On instinct, he whispered, "Room," summoning a small sphere around himself. The kunai halted midair. With a casual flick of his hand, Naruto swapped it with a handful of pebbles at the edge of the ring. The kunai clattered harmlessly to the ground, and the rain ninja blinked in shock. Naruto pressed his advantage, moving inside the room with impossible agility. He sidestepped a flurry of attacks, swapped his opponent's sandals with a broken tile, and gently knocked the boy to the ground, pinning him in a way that left the audience in stunned silence. "Winner, Uzumaki Naruto," the proctor announced, his voice edged with disbelief. Up in the stands, Lee's eyes shone with admiration. "He doesn't use chakra, but his resolve, his power, he's like no one I've ever met." Gaara, too, watched Naruto closely, sand swirling quietly around his feet. "Strange. He is not like the others." During breaks between matches, Naruto wandered the corridors, surprised when Hinata approached him shyly. "Naruto, you were amazing. I always knew you could do it." He flushed, scratching his head. "Thanks, Hinata. I'm still figuring things out." Elsewhere, Sasuke and Sakura worried for their teammate, seeing both his rising profile and the growing suspicion. "He's drawing too much attention," Sakura whispered. "What if more people like Orochimaru come after him?" Sasuke shrugged, but his eyes were stormy. "Let them. He's finally fighting back." By the end of the preliminaries, Naruto's performance was the talk of the exams. Some called him a prodigy, others a freak. But a few, Lee, Hinata, and even Neji, saw a kindred spirit, someone who fought not because of a clan or bloodline, but because he refused to give up. That night, as the moon shone over Konoha, Naruto sat on a rooftop, lost in thought. His powers set him apart, but also drew him closer to others who walked their own lonely paths. For the first time, he began to see the room not as a prison or mask, but as a bridge, a way to connect, to protect, and maybe even to heal. The Chunin exams weren't over yet, and the shadows of new threats loomed ever closer. But for now, Naruto allowed himself to hope. End of Chapter 14. Chapter 15. The Invasion Rewritten. The tension in the village was palpable as the final rounds of the Chunin exams began. Spectators packed the stands, and ninja from across the world gathered under banners and sunlight. For Naruto, standing beneath the gaze of the Hokage and hundreds of onlookers, it felt like his world was balancing on a knife's edge. But beneath the excitement, danger simmered. When the signal came, everything changed at once. A massive genjutsu swept over the arena, sending villagers and dignitaries into a sudden slumber. Masked sound and sand shinobi erupted from the stands, kunai glinting in the midday sun. Screams filled the air. Naruto snapped to attention as the invasion began, adrenaline surging through him. He scanned the chaos for his friends. Sasuke was already moving, slicing through enemy ninja with single-minded fury. Sakura, trembling but determined, rallied the civilians, guiding them to safety. Then Naruto heard the roar, the monstrous, inhuman sound that sent a chill down his spine. Gaara had transformed, sand writhing around him as the power of Shikaku, the One-Tail, threatened to break free. "Naruto!" Sakura shouted. "Gaara's heading for the village center." Without hesitation, Naruto sprinted after Gaara, weaving through smoke and falling debris. When he reached the edge of the forest, Gaara stood half-transformed, wild and desperate, sand spiraling in a shield around him. Gaara's voice trembled, echoing with the taint of the beast. "You don't understand. Only by hurting others do I know I exist." Naruto stared at him, remembering the loneliness, the hunger to be seen. He stepped forward, voice steady. "You're wrong. There's another way." Gaara's sand lashed out in a deadly wave. Naruto summoned a room, feeling the electric chill of his power. Inside the dome, the world slowed, sand bullets froze midair. With careful focus, Naruto cut through the sand, separating it without harm and causing it to fall to the ground like rain. Gaara howled, the beast surging forward. Naruto swapped positions with a fallen tree, avoiding a crushing blow. He pressed his hands to the ground, summoning the room larger than ever before. "Shambles!" he cried, scattering chunks of earth and broken stone to shield the fleeing villagers. The strain pushed him to the limit, but he held on, desperate to reach the boy behind the monster. "You don't have to be alone," Naruto shouted. "I know how it feels. But you can change it. You can choose." For a moment, Gaara's eyes flickered. Fear, hope, confusion. With one final surge, Naruto focused his room, gently separating Gaara from the sand cocoon. Gaara tumbled to the grass, shivering, human once more. The beast's power receded. The rest of the battle was a blur. Konoha ninja fought back the invaders, and with the Sandame's sacrifice, the threat was repelled. When the dust settled, Naruto knelt by Gaara, offering him a hand. Gaara stared, astonished. Why? Do you help me? Naruto grinned, tired but sincere. Because someone once told me we don't have to be what the world says. We get to choose who we are. As emergency teams swept in, the villagers whispered about what they'd seen. Sand turned to rain, enemy ninjas scattered by invisible force, a monster brought to peace by the strangest ninja in Konoha. For Naruto, it was both the hardest and the proudest day of his life. His powers had changed the tide, not by hurting, but by protecting. And for the first time, he believed the words he'd spoken to Gaara. He could choose his own path, no matter how strange it seemed. End of Chapter 15. Chapter 16. The Medical Miracle. The weeks following the invasion blurred together in a haze of rebuilding, grief, and cautious hope. The Hokage was gone, but the village endured. Wounds were everywhere, on the buildings, in the hearts of the villagers, and in Naruto's mind, where the memory of Gaara's haunted eyes lingered. Konoha needed a healer. News soon arrived that Lady Tsunade, the legendary Sannin and renowned medical ninja, was returning home at last. The village buzzed with anticipation. When Tsunade strode through the gates, confident, weary, and flanked by her apprentice Shizune, Naruto felt a strange nervousness, as if meeting a distant hero and a possible new judge of his worth. Tsunade's first days were spent healing the critically wounded. Naruto watched in awe as she mended crushed bones and sealed torn flesh with a touch. But even she could not save everyone, and lines of the injured stretched through the hospital. One rainy evening, Sakura dragged Naruto to the medical wing. "You have to show her," Sakura whispered. "You saved Gaara. Maybe you can save others." Tsunade was in the middle of a complicated surgery, sweat beading on her brow as she worked. She looked up as Naruto and Sakura entered, her expression sharp. "If this is a joke." "It's not," Sakura said, her voice shaking. "Naruto, he has a different kind of power." Tsunade narrowed her eyes. "Show me." Naruto hesitated, then stepped forward, focusing his energy. He formed a small, focused room over the patient's wounded leg. The world within the dome grew silent, colors sharper, the flow of blood visible to Naruto's senses. Guided by instinct, he separated damaged tissue without a blade, removing a splintered fragment of bone with a simple motion and swapping it with a stone from the tray nearby. Tsunade's hands hovered in the air, stunned. That's not chakra. And you didn't harm the vessels or nerves." Naruto, exhausted, let the room fade. The patient's breathing steadied. Shizune checked vitals, astonished. "It's like a miracle, like surgery, but without scars." Tsunade was silent, then slowly smiled, genuine and fierce. "Naruto, I've seen every jutsu and every trick in the medical world, but this could change everything. If you let me, I can teach you true medical knowledge. You already have the hands of a surgeon." Naruto felt pride bloom in his chest. For the first time, an adult didn't just tolerate his difference, they saw its value. But Tsunade's expression grew serious. "Naruto, your power, it isn't limitless. I watched your hands shake. If you use it recklessly, it could kill you. And people who want power will never stop coming for you. You must learn not just to heal others, but to protect yourself, too." Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He wanted nothing more than to help, but the danger was real. He could see it in Tsunade's eyes and in his own trembling hands. That night, as he walked home in the rain, Naruto thought of all he'd learned since eating the strange fruit, that power could heal as well as harm, that loneliness could be changed by courage, and that even the strangest gifts could become a lifeline to others. He looked up at the Hokage monument, water streaming down the ancient faces. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for now, he had hope, and he had people who believed in him. For the first time, Naruto truly felt he might be able to heal the village, not just with his hands, but with his heart. End of Chapter 16. Chapter 17. The Sasuke Retrieval and Farewell. The peace after the invasion was short-lived. Rumors spread. Orochimaru was still at large, and his eyes were fixed on Konoha and on its most vulnerable. Sasuke, haunted by his thirst for power and revenge, had grown more distant with each passing day. Naruto noticed the way Sasuke's eyes lingered on the horizon, as if he were already halfway gone. The night Sasuke disappeared, Naruto felt it like a blade in his chest. When the alarm sounded and the retrieval squad was assembled, Naruto didn't hesitate. Alongside Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji, and Niji, he ran through the forest, each step heavy with fear and hope. The Sound Force traps pushed them all to their limits. Naruto found himself using his rune powers with a desperate efficiency, swapping fallen logs to create shields, extracting poison-tipped darts from his friends with a surgeon's care. Each use cost him dearly, and by the time they reached the final valley, he was shaking with exhaustion. At the Valley of the End, Sasuke waited, the curse mark burning on his skin. The waterfall thundered between them, a mirror to the storm inside Naruto's heart. "Sasuke," Naruto shouted, voice raw. "Come home. You don't have to do this. We can get stronger, together." Sasuke's eyes were cold. "You don't understand. I need more. I need to break every bond if I want power." They clashed, the fight more brutal and personal than any before. Sasuke's speed and Sharingan pushed Naruto to the limit. Each time Sasuke gained the upper hand, Naruto reached for his room, swapping their positions, redirecting kunai, cutting through the very air to block a Chidori. But Sasuke was relentless. With every blow, Naruto felt his strength slipping away, the price of his power demanding more than just stamina. The Ope no Mi was miraculous, but not omnipotent. In one final gambit, Naruto expanded his room, trying to immobilize Sasuke and talk him down. Within the dome, memories and words echoed, of friendship, rivalry, dreams of recognition. But Sasuke, tears in his eyes, broke free. "You're stronger than me now, Naruto. But this power, it's my curse. I have to walk this path alone." With a last surge, Sasuke landed a blow that sent Naruto sprawling. The room shattered, blue sparks fading into the mist. When Naruto opened his eyes, Sasuke was gone, his silhouette vanishing into the morning mist. All that remained was the pain of failure and the bitter taste of loss. Shikamaru and the others found Naruto at the river's edge, battered but alive. No one spoke as they made their way back to Konoha, the weight of defeat settling on their shoulders. In the hospital, Tsunade visited Naruto. Her expression was gentle but firm. "You did everything you could. Sometimes, no matter how strong your power, you can't save everyone." Naruto nodded, silent tears on his cheeks. He'd tried to change fate, to rewrite the ending with the power he'd been given. But some things, he realized, couldn't be swapped or cut away. Before dawn, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument one last time. The village below was quiet, its wounds still healing. He looked at his hands, scarred, trembling, but stronger than ever. Jiraiya appeared beside him, a rare note of respect in his tone. "You're ready, Naruto. Ready for a journey beyond Konoha to master your power and yourself." Naruto looked at the horizon, determination hardening in his gaze. "I'll bring Sasuke back. I'll become someone worthy of this power. And I'll protect everyone I care about." With a final glance at his home, Naruto turned to follow Jiraiya, toward the unknown, and toward the promise of something greater. End of chapter 17. Epilogue. Before the dawn, Konoha's scars slowly faded beneath the steady hands of builders and healers. The village's spirit, stubborn and bright, had carried it through war, invasion, and loss. Yet in the quiet hours before sunrise, the wounds of the past still echoed through empty streets and silent rooftops. Naruto stood one last time on the Hokage monument, the stone faces bathed in the pale light of a new dawn. The cool wind tugged at his hair and cloak. He took a deep breath, feeling the strange, electric pulse of the Ope no Mi, now a familiar companion rather than a curse. He thought of everything he had gained and lost. Sasuke's absence weighed heavy on his heart, a gap nothing could fill. Yet the friends he had saved, the villagers who now looked at him with hope instead of fear, and the lives he had touched with his strange power, made him believe in new possibilities. He remembered Tsunade's promise, that one day his surgical jutsu could change the world for the better. He remembered Jiraiya's faith in him, and the new techniques waiting to be learned beyond Konoha's borders. Most of all, he remembered the faces, Irika's gentle encouragement, Kakashi's knowing eye, Sakura's honest friendship, Gaara's first, uncertain smile. They had helped him shape his power and his heart. Naruto traced the spiral pattern on his palm, feeling the echo of a pirate's dream from a distant, blue sea. He wasn't a traditional shinobi, and maybe he never would be. But he was something just as rare, someone who could rewrite the rules, not just for himself, but for everyone who needed a second chance. He turned as Jiraiya called from the path below, staff in hand and a proud grin on his face. "Come on, kid. The world's bigger than you think, and your story's just getting started." Naruto grinned, shouldered his pack, and raced down the mountain to meet his teacher. Behind him, the sun broke free of the clouds, flooding the village with light. He ran forward, not as the outcast or the monster, but as Naruto Uzumaki, the surgeon of Konoha, determined to chase down every new dawn. His journey had only just begun. End of story. And that wraps up today's story. What if Naruto had Trafalgar Law's devil fruit abilities? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did putting it together. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, Drop a comment with your thoughts or your own what-if ideas, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.